I stood in our bedroom doorway, watching my wife Julie fold her clothes with the kind of methodical precision she usually reserved for organizing Lila's school projects. Each shirt smoothed flat, each dress carefully arranged. The burgundy perfume bottle, the one I'd bought her for Christmas, disappeared into the side pocket of her black suitcase like it was just another Tuesday. This is insane, Julie. My voice came out steadier than I felt. You're a married woman with a 16-year-old daughter. You don't just pack up and move in with your ex-husband because he's having a rough time. She didn't look up from folding a blue sweater I'd never seen before. It's temporary, Alex. 1 month. Evan is falling apart since his wife filed for divorce. He needs support. He needs a therapist, not my wife playing house with him. I stepped into the room, my work boots heavy on the hardwood floor. What about our family? What about Lila? What about us? That's when our daughter appeared in the doorway behind me, her dark hair pulled back in the same ponytail Julie wore when she was stressed. At 16, Lila had Julie's stubborn chin and my gray eyes. But right now, those eyes were looking at me like I was the unreasonable one. Dad, please. Lila's voice had that pleading tone that usually melted my resolve. Mom's just trying to help someone who's hurting. Don't be selfish about this. Selfish. The word hit me like a wrench to the gut. I turned to look at my daughter, this kid I'd raised from diapers, who I'd taught to ride a bike and helped with algebra homework just last week. Selfish? Lila, I'm trying to keep our family together. Evan really needs Mom right now, she continued, and something about the way she said his name, familiar, comfortable, made my skin crawl. His whole world is falling apart. We should help people when they're struggling. I stared at her, then back at Julie, who was now zipping up the suitcase with finality. Since when do you two discuss Evan's personal problems? And since when does Lila get a vote in where her mother lives? Julie finally looked at me, her brown eyes cool and distant. I've been counseling him through some difficult times. As a friend, Lila understands that sometimes we have to make sacrifices to help others. Counseling him. I let the words hang in the air. You're a school counselor, Julie. You counsel teenagers about college applications and peer pressure. You don't counsel your ex-husband about his marriage problems. I'm still a licensed therapist, Alex. I can help whoever needs it. The lie came so smoothly, I almost believed it myself for a second. Julie's license had expired 3 years ago when she took the school job. She'd never bothered renewing it. This conversation is over, Julie said, lifting the suitcase off the bed. I'll be back in 30 days. Lila can stay here with you, obviously, but I expect you to be supportive of what I'm doing. I watched my wife of 18 years walk past me like I was furniture. Lila followed, but she paused to put her hand on my arm. Dad, try to understand. Sometimes helping others is more important than what we want. Those words, that exact phrasing. I'd heard it before, but not from my daughter. I'd heard it from Julie when she was practicing her arguments in the mirror, back when she thought I couldn't hear her through the bathroom door. After they left, Julie in her Honda, Lila riding along to help Mom get settled, I sat in our empty kitchen, staring at the coffee mug Julie had left in the sink. It still had her lipstick on the rim, a perfect pink crescent that somehow felt like evidence of something I couldn't name yet. My phone buzzed. A text from Ray, my buddy from the auto shop. Heard through the grapevine your wife's moved in with some guy. Everything okay? I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Just temporary. She's helping a friend. But as I hit send, I realized I didn't believe my own words anymore. 3 days into Julie's temporary arrangement, the first package arrived. I was in the garage, rebuilding a transmission for Mrs. Patterson's ancient Buick, when I heard the UPS truck rumble up our driveway. Through the window, I watched the driver leave a small box on our front porch. When I wiped the grease off my hands and went to check, I found a package addressed to Lila Morton in neat handwriting I didn't recognize. What's that? Lila asked when she got home from school, her backpack slung over one shoulder. Package for you. No return address. She took it with the kind of careful excitement that told me she knew exactly what it was. Inside was a silver bracelet with tiny charms. A heart, a star, a little infinity symbol. The kind of jewelry that cost more than I spent on groceries in a week. Who's it from? I asked, though something cold was already settling in my stomach. Evan. She held it up to the light, watching the charms catch the afternoon sun streaming through our living room window. Isn't it beautiful? He said he saw it and thought of me. He thought of you. I repeated the words slowly. Lila, you've met this man maybe twice in your entire life. Why would he be sending you expensive jewelry? She was already fastening it around her wrist, the clasp clicking into place with a sound that felt final. He's Mom's friend. He's being nice. He said I'm like the daughter he never had. He has 2 daughters, Lila, with his wife, the one he's supposedly getting divorced from. Had, she corrected. His wife took them when she left. He's all alone now, except for Mom helping him. She looked up at me with those gray eyes that were supposed to be like mine, but right now they seemed like a stranger's. You should be proud that Mom is such a caring person. I wanted to grab that bracelet and throw it in the trash. Instead, I watched my daughter admire her gift and wondered when exactly I'd lost control of my own family. The second package came 4 days later. This time, it was a designer purse, the kind with the interlocking letters that meant it cost more than my monthly truck payment. Lila squealed when she opened it, actually squealed like she was 10 years old again. Dad, look! Evan said every young woman should have something beautiful that's just hers. Every young woman should earn something beautiful, I said, but she was already taking selfies with the purse, probably to send to her friends. By the end of the first week, there had been 5 packages. A purse, the bracelet, a set of expensive makeup, a pair of designer sneakers, and a gift card to some boutique clothing store I'd never heard of. Each one came with a handwritten note that Lila read with the kind of smile she used to save for Christmas morning. He's buying you, I told her Friday night over dinner. We were eating pizza from a box because Julie wasn't there to cook, and somehow that felt symbolic of everything falling apart. He's being generous, Lila shot back. Maybe if you tried being nicer to people, you'd understand what that looks like. Nicer to people? I set down my slice, suddenly not hungry anymore. Lila, I work 60 hours a week to keep this family comfortable. I coach your friend Sarah's little brother's baseball team on weekends. I help Mrs. Chen next door with her yard work every month. When exactly have I not been nice to people? You're being mean about Evan, and you're making Mom feel guilty for helping someone who needs it. I haven't said a word to your mother about any of this. You don't have to say anything. She can tell you disapprove. It's making everything harder for her. I stared at my daughter across our kitchen table, trying to figure out when she'd learn to talk like a marriage counselor. Has your mother been calling you? Talking to you about adult things? Lila's cheeks flushed slightly. We text sometimes. She wants to make sure I'm okay. What kind of texts? Just normal stuff. She asks how school is, whether you're being okay about everything, if I need anything. Lila picked at her pizza crust. She feels bad that you're making this situation so difficult. I'm making it difficult. The words came out flat. Your mother moved in with another man, and I'm the one making things difficult. She's helping someone, Dad. Why can't you see that? I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. The new bracelet caught the kitchen light. The designer purse sat on the counter behind her like a monument to someone else's money. And suddenly I understood what I was looking at. This wasn't just about Julie and whatever she was doing with Evan. This was about Lila being systematically turned against me, one expensive gift at a time. Every package that arrived made me look smaller in comparison. Every text from her mother reinforced the narrative that I was the problem. Lila, I said carefully, how many times have you talked to Evan directly? A few times. When Mom calls, sometimes he's there. He always asks how I'm doing, whether I like the things he sent. She smiled, and it was the kind of innocent smile that broke my heart. He's really interested in my life. He asks about school, my friends, what I want to do after graduation. He listens, you know? Unlike me, was the implication hanging in the air. And what do you tell him? Just normal stuff, about how things are here, whether you're, handling everything okay. My 16-year-old daughter was reporting back to a man I barely knew about my emotional state and how I was handling my wife living with him. The realization hit me like a cold slap. Lila, I need you to understand something. This situation isn't normal. Married women don't move in with their ex-husbands to provide emotional support, and men don't send expensive gifts to other people's daughters unless they want something. Want something? Her voice got defensive. Like what? Like your loyalty. Like your mother. Like our family. She stood up from the table, her chair scraping against the floor. You're being paranoid and mean. Mom is trying to help someone, and you're turning it into something ugly because you're jealous. Jealous of what? That she cares about someone besides you. The words hung between us like a challenge. I watched my daughter storm upstairs, her new sneakers silent on the steps, and realized that somewhere in the past week I'd become the villain in my own family's story. I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the pizza box and wondering how a man could lose everything while sitting in his own house. 2 weeks into Julie's temporary stay, I was at Murphy's bar after work when everything started unraveling. Murphy's wasn't much to look at. Dim lighting, sticky floors, and the kind of regulars who knew everyone's business before they did, but it served cold beer and minded its own business, which was all I needed after 10 hours of fixing other people's problems. I was nursing my second Budweiser when Danny Martinez slid onto the stool next to me. Danny worked construction and had the kind of loose tongue that came from too many years of job site gossip. "Hey, Alex, how you holding up with everything?" "Everything meaning what?" Danny gave me a look like I was playing dumb. "Come on, man. The whole town knows your wife's shacked up with that pharmaceutical guy, Evan something or other." "She's helping him through a difficult time," I said, the words tasting like cardboard in my mouth. "Yeah, that's one way to put it." Danny signaled the bartender for another round. "My sister works at the bank downtown. She says they've been coming in together, like a couple, doing paperwork, talking about joint accounts, that kind of thing." The beer suddenly tasted sour. "Joint accounts?" "Look, I probably shouldn't have said anything, but Linda, that's my sister. She thought you should know, especially since they brought the kid with them last week." "What kid?" "Your daughter. Linda said she was calling the guy Uncle Evan, and he bought her lunch at that fancy place next to the bank, the one with the cloth napkins and $15 burgers." I set my beer down carefully, afraid I might throw it if I wasn't careful. "They took Lila to the bank?" "Wednesday afternoon. Linda said your wife was signing some kind of paperwork while the guy entertained your daughter. Bought her one of those expensive smoothies from the health food place." Danny looked uncomfortable now, like he was realizing this conversation wasn't going the way he'd expected. "I thought you knew." "Wednesday afternoon, the day Lila had texted me that she was staying after school for a student council meeting. The same day she'd come home with another gift, a leather journal with her initials embossed in gold." "What kind of paperwork?" I asked. "Linda couldn't see everything, but she said it looked like account stuff, maybe insurance forms. Your wife seemed to know what she was doing." I finished my beer in one long swallow and threw a 20 on the bar. "Thanks for telling me, Danny." "Alex, wait, I didn't mean to," but I was already walking toward the door, my mind racing through every conversation I'd had with Lila over the past 2 weeks, every gift that had arrived, every time she'd defended Julie's decision or made me feel like the unreasonable one. When I got home, Lila was in the living room doing homework, her new leather journal open beside her math textbook. She looked up when I walked in, and for a second, she looked guilty. "How was the student council meeting Wednesday?" I asked casually. "Fine. We talked about the spring dance theme." "Must have run late. You didn't get home until almost 5? "Yeah, we went out for smoothies afterward, just a few of us." The lie came so easily I almost admired it. Almost. "Lila, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Have you been to the bank with your mother and Evan?" Her face went white, then red. We just stopped by to take care of some paperwork." "What kind of paperwork?" "I don't know. Adult stuff. I waited in the lobby, mostly." She was fidgeting with her bracelet, the charms making tiny clicking sounds. "Mom said not to mention it because it would just make you worry about things that weren't important." "Your mother told you to lie to me." "She said not to bring it up unless you asked directly. That's different." "No, Lila, that's exactly the same thing." I sat down across from her, trying to keep my voice level. "What else haven't you told me?" "Nothing important." "Let me decide what's important. What else?" She stared at her homework for a long moment. "Evan's been asking about our house. Like how long we've lived here, whether you own it, or if we have a mortgage, stuff like that." My blood went cold. "And what did you tell him?" "Just that we've been here since I was little, and that you're always working on fixing things." She looked up at me with those gray eyes that suddenly seemed older than 16. "He said it sounds like a lot of work for one person." "What else has he asked about?" "Your job, mostly. How much you work, whether you like it, if you make good money." The words were coming faster now, like she was relieved to finally say them out loud. "He said it must be hard being a mechanic, getting dirty all the time, not making as much as people with office jobs." "He said that to you?" "Not mean or anything, just like he felt sorry for you. He said some people are meant for different kinds of work, and there's nothing wrong with that." I felt something hot and dangerous building in my chest. This man, this stranger, had been pumping my daughter for information about our finances, our home, our life, while buying her loyalty with expensive gifts. And Julie had been right there, letting it happen. "Lila, I want you to call your mother right now." "Dad, I don't think—" "Right now. I want to talk to her." Lila pulled out her phone with shaking hands and dialed. I could hear it ringing on speaker, then Julie's voice, warm and familiar and completely wrong. "Hi, sweetheart. How was school?" "Mom, Dad wants to talk to you." There was a pause, then Julie's voice again, cooler now. Put him on. I took the phone. Julie, we need to talk. About what? About you taking our daughter to the bank with your boyfriend. About him asking her questions about our finances. About you telling her to lie to me about where she's been. Another pause, longer this time. Alex, you're overreacting. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you and Evan are planning something that involves our daughter and our assets, and I'm the only one who doesn't know what it is. That's ridiculous. Then come home, right now. Come home and explain to me what kind of paperwork requires our daughter's presence at the bank. I can't just leave, Alex. Evan needs what? Our house? Our kid? Our bank account information? My voice was getting louder, and I could see Lila shrinking into the couch. What exactly does Evan need that's more important than your actual family? You're being paranoid and controlling. I'm trying to help someone through a crisis, and you're making it about yourself. I'm making it about my daughter being used to gather intelligence about our personal finances while you play house with another man. The line went quiet for so long, I thought she'd hung up. Then, I'll be home Sunday to get more of my things. We can talk then. More of your things? Julie, you said 1 month. It's been 2 weeks. Plans change, Alex. Sometimes helping people takes longer than we expect. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, then handed it back to Lila, who was crying silently into her math homework. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to answer his questions. It's not your fault, sweetheart. I sat down next to her and pulled her into a hug that felt like the first real connection we'd had in weeks. But from now on, I need you to tell me everything. No more secrets, okay? She nodded against my shoulder, and for a moment, I thought maybe I was getting my daughter back. But then she pulled away and looked at me with eyes that were still too old for 16. Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced? I looked at my daughter, this kid who'd been caught in the middle of something she didn't understand, who'd been manipulated by adults who should have protected her, and realized I didn't have an answer that wouldn't break her heart. I don't know, Lila. I honestly don't know. But even as I said it, I was starting to suspect that the decision had already been made for me. Sunday came like a storm I could see building on the horizon, but couldn't stop. Julie arrived at 3 in the afternoon, driving a car I didn't recognize, a silver BMW with temporary plates. She parked in our driveway like she owned the place, which I guess she still did, legally speaking. Lila ran outside to hug her, and I watched from the kitchen window as they talked quietly by the car. Julie was wearing clothes I'd never seen before, expensive-looking jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than I made in a week. Her hair was different too, styled in a way that made her look younger, more polished. When they came inside, Julie was carrying a small suitcase and had that determined look she got when she'd already made up her mind about something. We need to talk, I said. Yes, we do. She set the suitcase down by the stairs and turned to Lila. Honey, why don't you go upstairs for a while? Your dad and I need to have an adult conversation. Lila looked between us, her face pale. Are you guys going to fight? We're going to talk, Julie said firmly. That's what adults do when they have disagreements. After Lila disappeared upstairs, Julie and I stood in our living room like strangers. She looked around the space we'd shared for 18 years, the couch we'd picked out together, the family photos on the mantel, the coffee table I'd built in the garage, like she was seeing it for the first time. Nice car, I said. It's Evan's. He let me borrow it. How generous of him. Just like the gifts he's been sending our daughter. Julie's jaw tightened. Those gifts are expressions of kindness, something you might not understand right now. Kindness. I let the word hang in the air. Is that what we're calling it when a grown man pumps a 16-year-old for information about her family's finances? Evan was just making conversation. He's interested in Lila's life. He's interested in our life, Julie. Our house, our money, our daughter's loyalty. And you're helping him get all three. She crossed her arms, and I noticed she was wearing jewelry I'd never seen before. A gold necklace with a pendant that caught the afternoon light streaming through our windows. You're being paranoid, Alex. Evan is going through a difficult divorce. He's lost his children, his home, everything that mattered to him. I'm helping him rebuild his life? By destroying ours? By being a decent human being, something you seem incapable of understanding. The accusation hit like a slap. I'm incapable of understanding? Julie, I've been married to you for 18 years. I've supported your career, raised our daughter, built this life we're living, and now I'm supposed to be understanding about you moving in with another man? It's temporary. It's been 2 weeks, and you just told me plans change. How temporary is temporary, Julie? She looked away, and in that moment of silence, I heard the truth she wasn't saying. You're not coming back, I said quietly. I don't know. You don't know, I repeated the words, tasting their bitter honesty. You don't know if you're coming back to your husband and daughter because you're too busy helping your ex-husband recover from losing his wife and children. It's complicated. No, it's not. It's actually very simple. You made a choice. You chose him over us. Everything else is just window dressing. Julie's composure finally cracked. You have no idea what I'm going through. Evan understands me in ways you never have. He appreciates what I have to offer. What you have to offer. I stared at her, this woman I'd loved since I was 24 years old. And what exactly do you have to offer him, Julie? Emotional support, intellectual connection, someone who sees his potential instead of just accepting mediocrity. The word mediocrity hung between us like a knife. I looked around our living room, at the life I'd built with my own hands, the family I'd worked 60 hours a week to support, the home I'd maintained and improved and loved, and saw it through her eyes for the first time. Mediocre. I see, I said quietly. So this isn't about helping someone through a crisis. This is about you deciding you married beneath yourself. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. Evan has potential. I accept mediocrity. Evan appreciates what you have to offer. I don't understand you. I sat down heavily on the couch we'd bought together 7 years ago. How long have you felt this way, Julie? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. How long have you been talking to him? A few months. How long? Since Christmas. 4 months. She'd been planning this for 4 months, while I was coaching Lila's friend's little brother's baseball team and helping Mrs. Chen with her yard work and working overtime to pay for the family vacation we'd never take. And Lila, how long have you been preparing her for this? I haven't been preparing her for anything. I've been helping her understand that sometimes adults have to make difficult choices. You've been turning her against me? I've been helping her see that your jealousy and controlling behavior aren't her fault. I stood up, feeling something dangerous building in my chest. Controlling behavior? Julie, I haven't said a word to stop you from leaving. I haven't called you, haven't shown up at his place, haven't made any demands on your time or attention. What exactly have I controlled? You've made me feel guilty for helping someone who needs it. I've made you feel guilty for abandoning your family. I haven't abandoned anyone. You moved in with another man, Julie. You're driving his car, wearing his jewelry, and letting him buy our daughter's loyalty with expensive gifts. If that's not abandonment, what would you call it? She touched the necklace reflexively, and I saw her realize I'd noticed it. This is why I can't come home, she said quietly. This anger, this suspicion, this is what Evan said would happen. Evan said. I repeated the words slowly. Evan predicted that I'd be upset about my wife moving in with him. What incredible insight. He said you'd try to make me choose between helping him and keeping you happy. I'm not making you choose anything, Julie. You already chose. I'm just asking you to be honest about it. We stared at each other across the living room, and I realized this was the moment our marriage actually ended. Not when she packed the suitcase, not when she moved in with Evan, but right here, when she looked at me like I was the problem that needed to be solved. I'm going to pack some more things, she said finally. Take whatever you want. She started toward the stairs, then stopped. What are you going to tell Lila? The truth, that her mother chose someone else over her family. That's not fair to her. What's not fair to her is having adults lie to her about what's happening to her family. I looked toward the stairs, knowing Lila was probably listening to every word. She's 16, Julie. She's old enough to understand that actions have consequences. Julie went upstairs, and I heard her moving around in our bedroom, opening drawers and closets. When she came back down 20 minutes later, she was carrying 2 suitcases and a garment bag. I'll call Lila tonight, she said. Will Evan be listening in on that conversation too? She didn't answer, just walked toward the door, but she stopped with her hand on the knob and turned back to me. Alex, I want you to know that I never meant for it to happen this way. How did you mean for it to happen?
That's enough carrots.
I hoped you'd understand, that you'd see I was trying to do something good. I looked at my wife of 18 years, standing in our doorway with another man's jewelry around her neck and his car keys in her hand, and realized she actually believed what she was saying. Julie, I said quietly, I hope he's worth it. She left without another word, and I sat alone in our living room, listening to the BMW pull out of our driveway and wondering how a man could lose his entire life in a 20-minute conversation. Upstairs, I could hear Lila crying. The call came at 11:30 on a Thursday night, 3 weeks after Julie's last visit. I was in the garage, rebuilding the engine on my old Chevy pickup, the kind of mindless work that kept my hands busy and my mind from racing in circles. The number was unfamiliar, but the voice wasn't. Is this Alex Morton? Who's asking? My name is Patricia Rourke. I think you know my husband, Evan. I set down my wrench and gave her my full attention. I know of him. I'm sure you do. Her voice was crisp, professional, with an edge that suggested she was used to getting straight to the point. Mr. Morton, I think we need to talk. About what? About what your wife and my husband have been doing while they thought nobody was paying attention. 20 minutes later, Patricia Rourke was sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee and laying out photographs like she was presenting evidence in court. Which, as it turned out, she was. Patricia was nothing like what I'd expected. She was tall, elegant, with silver hair, and the kind of quiet confidence that came from years of fighting battles and winning them. She wore a simple black suit and carried herself like someone who didn't have time for nonsense. I hired a private investigator 6 weeks ago, she said, sliding a photograph across the table, when Evan started staying out all night and coming home with lipstick on his collar. The photograph showed Julie and Evan sitting at an outdoor cafe, their heads close together, her hand covering his on the table. They looked like lovers. They looked happy. This was taken in February, Patricia continued. 2 months before Evan told me he wanted a separation. 3 months before your wife moved in to help him recover. She laid out more photographs. Julie and Evan at a hotel, Julie and Evan shopping together, Julie and Evan with Lila at what looked like an expensive restaurant, all three of them laughing like a family. They've been planning this for months, Patricia said. The separation, the divorce, the whole story about Evan needing emotional support. It was all designed to make it look like your wife was being charitable instead of breaking up 2 marriages. I stared at the photographs, seeing my family's destruction laid out in glossy 8x10 prints. Why are you showing me this? Because I want them both to pay for what they've done, and I think you do too. Patricia opened a manila folder and pulled out more documents, bank statements, credit card receipts, hotel bills, a paper trail of betrayal that went back months. Evan's been spending our money on her since January. Jewelry, clothes, dinners, gifts for your daughter. He even used our joint account to put a deposit on an apartment for them. She pointed to a bank statement with a highlighted entry. $5,000 for first and last month's rent on a place downtown. The lease has both their names on it. They're moving in together. They already have. The whole story about your wife helping him through his recovery. She's been living in their apartment for the past week. Evan only comes back to our house to shower and change clothes. I felt something cold and final settling in my chest. What do you want from me? I want to destroy them both. Legally, financially, socially. I want them to understand that there are consequences for blowing up 2 families for their own selfish desires. Patricia leaned forward, her eyes hard. And I want to make sure they don't get to keep the children they've been manipulating. Lila. And my 2 daughters. Evan's been telling them that I'm the reason our family is falling apart, that I'm keeping them from being happy. Your wife has been backing up his story, playing the role of the understanding woman who just wants to help. Patricia's voice got colder. They're using our children as weapons against us, Mr. Morton, and I don't intend to let them get away with it. I looked at the photographs again, seeing Julie's face in each one. Happy, relaxed, free. She looked like a woman who'd finally gotten what she wanted. What are you proposing? Patricia smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. I'm proposing we give them exactly what they deserve. She pulled out a legal document and slid it across the table. I filed for divorce yesterday. Full custody of our daughters, half of all assets, and a lawsuit for alienation of affection against your wife. I looked up sharply. You can sue for that? In this state, yes. When a third party deliberately interferes with a marriage, they can be held financially responsible for the damage they cause. Patricia's smile got wider. Your wife helped destroy my marriage, Mr. Morton. She's going to pay for it. Literally. What do you need from me? File for divorce, immediately. Ask for full custody of your daughter and cite your wife's abandonment and adultery as grounds. Then we coordinate our legal strategies to make sure they both lose everything they care about. I stared at the papers, thinking about Lila upstairs, probably texting with Julie about her day at school, thinking about the gifts that kept arriving, the lies that kept multiplying, the way my daughter looked at me like I was the problem that needed to be solved. There's something else, Patricia said quietly. The investigator found out that Evan's been recording conversations with your daughter, phone calls, video chats, in-person meetings. He's been documenting everything she says about you, your finances, your relationship with your wife. Why? Insurance. If you fight for custody, he wants to be able to prove that you're an unfit father. Your daughter doesn't know she's being recorded, but every conversation she has with him is being saved as potential evidence against you. The rage that hit me was so pure and clean it almost felt good. This man, this stranger, had been using my daughter as an unwitting spy, recording her private thoughts and feelings to use against me in court. He's been grooming her, I said quietly. Exactly. Buying her loyalty, encouraging her to share personal information, turning her against you emotionally while documenting everything she says for legal purposes. Patricia gathered up the photographs. Mr. Morton, your wife and my husband aren't just having an affair. They're systematically destroying our families to build their new life together. And they're using our children to do it.
Where is Beatrice?
I signed the papers Patricia had brought. All of them. Divorce papers, custody papers, a sworn statement about Julie's abandonment and adultery. I signed them all while thinking about Lila sleeping upstairs, wearing jewelry bought with another woman's money by a man who was secretly recording her conversations. What happens now? I asked. Now we serve them both with papers simultaneously so they can't coordinate their stories or hide assets. Patricia stood up, smoothing down her skirt. And then we watched their perfect little fantasy fall apart. After she left, I sat alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of my family's destruction. But for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel helpless. I felt like I was finally fighting back. The papers were served on a Friday morning. I know because Julie called me at work, screaming, "You bastard! How could you do this to me? To us? To Lila?" I was under the hood of a Ford Explorer, but I stopped what I was doing and gave her my full attention. Do what, Julie? A file for divorce. Sue me. Try to take Lila away from me. I'm not trying to take Lila away from you. I'm trying to protect her from people who've been using her. Using her? I'm her mother. You're her mother who moved in with a man who's been secretly recording her conversations to use against me in court? The line went quiet. Then, that's not true. Patricia Rourke has the evidence, Julie. Hours of recordings. Your boyfriend has been documenting every conversation he's had with our daughter, every piece of information she's shared about our family, every negative thing she said about me while she was upset about you leaving. You're lying. Call him right now and ask him. Ask Evan if he's been recording Lila. Another long pause. Then quietly, he said it was to protect her, in case you tried to turn her against us. Us. I let the word hang there. So you knew. It wasn't like that. What was it like, Julie? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you and your boyfriend have been manipulating our daughter for months, buying her loyalty with expensive gifts while secretly recording everything she says. We were protecting her. From what? From you, from your anger and jealousy and controlling behavior. I laughed, and it came out bitter. My controlling behavior. Right. The controlling behavior where I let you move in with another man and said nothing. The controlling behavior where I let him send expensive gifts to our daughter and didn't interfere. The controlling behavior where I worked 60 hours a week to pay for the family you were planning to abandon. I never abandoned anyone. You signed a lease with him, Julie. Patricia has the bank records. You put down $5,000 for an apartment downtown. You've been planning this for months. The line went dead. I finished changing the oil on the Explorer and was washing my hands when my phone rang again. This time, it was Lila. Dad, Mom says you're trying to take me away from her. I'm trying to protect you, sweetheart? From what? I closed my eyes, knowing this conversation was going to hurt both of us. Lila, did you know that Evan has been recording your conversations? What do you mean? Every time you talk to him on the phone, every video chat, every time you meet him in person, he's been secretly recording everything you say. That's not true. It is true. He's been saving those recordings to use against me if we went to court. Every time you complained about me being upset about Mom leaving, every time you defended their relationship, every piece of information you shared about our family, he's been documenting all of it. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line, processing what I was telling her. Why would he do that? Because he and your mother have been planning to start a new life together, and they needed to make sure I couldn't interfere. The gifts, the attention, the way they made you feel special, it was all designed to turn you against me and gather information they could use in court. Dad, I don't understand. Lila, your mother didn't leave to help Evan recover from his divorce. She left because she's been having an affair with him for months. They've been planning this whole thing, the separation, the divorce, taking you away from me, since before Christmas. The silence stretched out so long I thought she'd hung up. Then I heard her crying. Lila, is Mom really not coming home? No, sweetheart, she's not. And Evan? He was really recording me? Yes. All those times he asked about you, about our house, about money. He was gathering information to use against me, and your mother was helping him do it. More crying. Then, in a small voice, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought I thought you were being mean to Mom. I thought you were trying to keep her from helping someone. It's not your fault, Lila. Adults lied to you. That's not your fault. Can I come home? You are home, sweetheart. You've always been home. That afternoon, Lila came downstairs with 2 garbage bags full of gifts. The jewelry, the purse, the clothes, the makeup, everything Evan had sent her. She set them by the front door without saying a word. You don't have to throw them away, I told her. Yes, I do, she said quietly. I don't want anything from someone who was using me. We put the bags in my truck and drove to the women's shelter downtown. Lila carried them inside herself and handed them to the volunteer at the front desk. Someone might as well get some good out of them, she said. On the way home, she asked, What's going to happen to Mom? She's going to have to live with the choices she made. Will I see her? If you want to, but it'll be on our terms, not theirs. I don't think I want to, not for a while. I reached over and squeezed her hand. That's okay too. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Julie got half our assets, but she also got hit with Patricia's lawsuit for alienation of affection. Between the legal fees and the judgment against her, she ended up with less than nothing. Evan lost his job when his company found out about the recordings. Apparently, secretly documenting conversations with minors violated several corporate policies. He also lost his house, his kids, and most of his money to Patricia's very good lawyers. The last I heard, Julie and Evan were living in a studio apartment across town, both working retail jobs and fighting constantly about money. The fairy tale romance that was worth destroying 2 families for turned out to be just another messy, ordinary relationship once the excitement of the affair wore off. Lila started seeing a therapist to work through her feelings about being manipulated by adults she trusted. She's doing better now, but she still has trust issues. She's more careful about people's motives, more skeptical when adults try to buy her affection with gifts. As for me, I kept the house, got full custody, and learned that sometimes the best revenge is just letting people live with the consequences of their choices. Julie calls sometimes, wanting to talk to Lila. Usually Lila says no. When she does take the call, it's short and polite and distant. She treats Julie like an acquaintance now, someone she used to know but doesn't really care about anymore. Last week, Julie called and asked if she could come to Lila's high school graduation. Lila thought about it for a long time, then said yes, but only if she came alone. I don't want him there, she told me. I don't want to see the man who recorded me. That's your choice to make, I said. Will it be weird, having Mom there but not really having her there? Probably, but you'll get through it. You're stronger than you think. She smiled, and for the first time in months, it looked like the smile of the little girl I used to know. I learned from the best. Julie came to the graduation. She sat in the back, alone, and left immediately after the ceremony. She didn't try to talk to either of us. She just watched her daughter graduate and walked away, and somehow that felt like the perfect ending to the story of our marriage. That night, Lila and I went out for dinner at the fancy steakhouse downtown, the one with cloth napkins and $15 burgers. We ordered dessert and talked about her college plans and her summer job at the animal shelter. We talked about everything except the woman who used to be the center of our world and was now just a stranger who shared our last name. Dad, Lila said as we were leaving the restaurant. Yeah? I'm glad you fought for me, even when I didn't want you to. I'll always fight for you, sweetheart. That's what parents do. Real parents, she corrected. Real parents fight for their kids instead of using them. We walked to the truck together, and I realized that losing my wife had taught me something important. Sometimes the people who stay are worth more than the people who leave. Sometimes the family that survives is stronger than the family that was. Sometimes the best revenge is just being the better person.